An A to Z of the Holy Land, from Arab to Zion. With Ed Kessler, founder-director of the Wolf Institute. Episode 1, A for Arab.
إنا أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم تعقلون. Indeed, we have sent it down as an Arabic Quran, that you might understand. Surah 12:2. The call to prayer from the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
It may seem obvious to begin an A to Z of the Holy Land with A for Arab, but the term is more confusing than it may seem at first glance. For example, although over 300 million people identify as Arab and more than 400 million speak Arabic as their first language, not all Arabs are Muslim, and the majority of Muslims are not Arab. Why? Because Islam is a religion, not an ethnicity. There are Christian Arabs, perhaps 15 million, as well as a smaller number of Arab Jews, where numbers are hard to come by, the majority of whom live in Israel. Some Arab Jews prefer to be called Mizrahi, from the East, but this term also includes Turk and Iranian Jews who are not Arab. As for Muslims, the most populous Muslim country in the world is thousands of miles away from the Holy Land, Indonesia at 265 million, followed by Pakistan, India and Bangladesh, before the first Arab nation, Egypt, comes in at 100 million, the fifth most populous Muslim state in the world. There are also large numbers of Arabs in North America, 3 million in the US and 1 million in Canada, as well as more than 20 million in South America. Nevertheless, it is a fact that an overwhelming majority of Arabs are Muslim, and Arab history is closely intertwined with Muslim history. Arab Muslims are Sunni or Shiite. The Druze are generally considered as a religion apart. Sunni Islam dominates, but Shia Islam is prevalent in Bahrain, although political power lies with Sunnis, and in southern Iraq, parts of Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Syria and Yemen. Geographically, the Arab world extends from the Persian Gulf to the Atlantic Ocean, from Iraq in the east to Morocco in the west. Arab nationalists affirm a shared history, culture and language. Indeed, Arab Christian intellectuals such as the Syrian Michel Aflaq propose that Arabs, irrespective of religion, constitute one nation.
Soundscape of the old city of Jerusalem.
How much is this?
3 por 6 euros.
1, 6 euros.
Perhaps most importantly for this A to Z is that the three Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity and Islam, each trace their beginnings to an Arab, Abraham or Ibrahim, who travelled from Ur in Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, to Canaan, one of the names given to the Holy Land. Arab Christians generally follow one of the Eastern churches. They are proportionally largest in Lebanon, 40% of the population, and numerically largest in Egypt, 9 million, just under 10% of the population. Elsewhere, their numbers are small, with a dramatic collapse in Iraq from 1.5 million in 2003 to about 250,000 today, a consequence of the American-led war against Saddam Hussein. In Israel, Christians number about 200,000, 2% of the Israeli population or 10% of the Palestinian Israeli population, and perhaps 50,000 in the state of Palestine, that's 4%. Which the UN recognised as a state with the same status as the Holy See in 2012. Arabic, closely related to Hebrew, Amharic and Aramaic, is spoken throughout the Arab world, but also widely studied by Muslims because the Quran is written in classical Arabic. Arabic spread to the Holy Land and throughout the Middle East and North Africa alongside the Muslim conquest in the 7th and 8th centuries, partly because converts were obliged to pray in Arabic. During the Middle Ages, Arabic was a major vehicle of science, mathematics and philosophy, with the result that English borrowed numerous words such as algebra and zero. I was surprised to learn that alcohol was also of Arabic origin, referring originally not to an intoxicating drink, but to enticing eye makeup. By the 10th century, Jews and Christians had translated their holy scriptures into Arabic, and the Jewish translation by Sa'adya Gaon in the 9th century was adopted by the Coptic Church. However, relations between Christians and Jews under Arab rule were often marked by competition for the favour of Muslim rulers. The Crusades in particular divided Christian Arabs. Whereas Christians, together with Muslims and Jews, were often victims of the Crusaders, some sided with the armies from Europe. In later centuries, Christians were divided about how to respond to the success of Christian missionaries from the West, as well as the imperial powers. In the next letter, B for Balfour, I will look at the arrival of the European powers who were eager for influence and intervened on behalf of both Christians and Jews. Most recently, Zionism and the State of Israel deeply affected the denominational mosaic in the Arab world. The 2018 Arab population in Israel, in the pre-1967 borders, consisted of 1.8 million, that's 20%. But Palestinians with Israeli citizenship, many prefer to use this term, face bias in everything, from housing to budgeting and land allocation. The controversial 2018 Jewish nation-state law, which the Netanyahu government passed amidst much opposition, elicited justified complaint because, for example, it refers to Hebrew as the sole official language, downgrading Arabic to special status, and defines the establishment of Jewish communities as in the national interest. Divisions between Arabs and Jews in Israel grow wider year on year. For their part, Israeli leaders have sought to win Christian support, both Arab and non-Arab, by underlining the idea of a joint Jewish and Christian minority status in a Muslim-dominated region. They also actively supported Christian separatist forces in Lebanon and in the Sudan. A small number of Arabic-speaking Christians in Israel insist that they are not Arabs. Instead, they consider themselves Arameans. Efforts to create a dialogue between Arab Christians and Israeli Jews in the Holy Land have met with some success. Some focus on the common search for peace and justice, while others seek to promote awareness of shared religious, historical and cultural heritage. The uniqueness of Jewish-Christian dialogue in Israel is that Jews are the dominant majority and Christians a small minority within a minority. In addition, almost all dialogue includes Muslims as an essential party.
Swifts returning to nest near the Western Wall.